Hello and welcome back, T students. This is for my TEA students. I am going to do something really cool today. I came up with a really neat idea. I've had an idea for the last week or so, but it evolved today into something that I think is really pretty cool. So we are going to start out by watching a video of somebody. It's either going to be my son or me working on a potter's wheel, making something really cool. And then we're going to get to work. All right, that was pretty cool, huh? So that kind of gives a preview as to what we're actually going to be doing today for this class, or for this week for your class. The concept here is that when we design things and we create things as engineers, we do that with the concept that somebody else is likely to be making these things in the future. You design something, you create it, you go, well, that's really neat, or a lot of engineers do. And in the end, it's somebody else at a different machine actually physically creating that thing. You don't actually physically create the key fob or the retractable key thing. You design it and you create it on a computer and you pass that along to somebody else, and that person, the next person in line, figures out how it can be created, and then they pass it on to somebody else who figures out who they're going to have create that device, and then there's a whole long line. And in the end, there's somebody who actually physically goes out there, or probably a bunch of people who go out there and physically create this object that you've designed. Now, to design such things, we in this class are working with a program called SketchUp. Click on that, and now we've got just SketchUp 2017. Okay? Okay, so the last video you guys watched involved me making a vase. And I started out by drawing a circle. And I'm just going to stick with circles today. I'm not going to do the polygon thing. I am then going to take a line tool, and you guys will be doing this. You shouldn't be doing this while I'm doing this. You should at least watch the video once and then maybe go back. And I'm going to locate the center of that circle. In order to locate the center of a circle, you're going to hover on one of the corners, and it will help you find that center. If it's not showing you where the center is, I usually hover on a couple of spots, a couple of these corners, and then it will find the center for me. Okay? Now I'm going to, so I clicked on that spot so I can move around, but in the end I'm going to want to come up in a blue line, and I'm going to give this actual dimension. I'll explain. Actually, I'm not. I'm just going to show you how to use this process for a second. So I came up in a blue line, and I click a line. I'm then going to take a tape measure, and I'm going to measure over. And you see how that's red? There's a red arrow there. The tape measure. That's telling me that I'm moving along the line of that thing right there, which I want to do. From here, going out in the red direction, and click. That tells me that this thing is lined up in that red direction. I'm then going to take this line, I'm going to click there and go over to the line. I'm going to click here. I'm not going to click here, I'm going to hover here and move over here and close that up. Now I basically put a rectangle in a circle. You could also have achieved that by just clicking, grabbing the rectangle tool, clicking, and then coming up and drawing it in this perspective right there. and I've achieved the same thing. So one way or the other, you want to create a rectangle, or a rectangle, inside of a circle is what you want to do. Okay. Then you're going to draw a shape on that rectangle. And I'm just drawing fairly randomly right now because it doesn't really need to be perfect. Oops, that last one, you'll see I screwed up. So I'm going to Control Z, and click here, click there, and I click here, I'm going to click here, and I click here. I'm doing more than I need to. And I'm going to erase a bunch of stuff. Basically what I've created is I've created a shape where the center of that shape is, oops, not there. The center of that shape is the center, is right sitting on the center of that. Okay. Now, I'm going to select the surface and I'm going to push the delete button to get rid of that surface. I didn't need to do that. Actually, I'm going to not do that because I'm going to show you what happens if you don't do that. Now I'm going to use what's called the Follow Me tool, which is this tool right over here on the left. Okay, if you don't have that, it's possible that you're not using the large tool set on the left, and you need to come up here to go to the camera, View, Toolbars, Large Tool Set. I'm going to select this surface. Actually, I'm going to select that line, and I'm going to click the Follow Me tool. I'm going to click on the shape, and it wrapped around that shape. It followed all the way around. Now, you see how this thing is empty for some reason? Meaning this is what I actually wanted to create. But this is what I had once I had done the Follow Me tool. For some reason the bottom was missing. There's no space in the bottom, and I wanted that space. So I just want to show you that if I delete this surface first, and I click here, and then I click over here on the Follow Me tool, and then I click on the object, then I end up keeping my bottom. Something else that I should point out at this point is that, see how this is gray and this is white? That is a problem with SketchUp, and I'm not sure why it is, but this is reversed. For some reason, this surface has been reversed. If I right-click and reverse faces, the whole thing's going to be white. Some reason it reversed the faces, and I have no idea why that is. So if you ever end up with a gray surface like this and you don't like it, you can right-click and reverse surfaces. But it doesn't. I'm never going to worry about whether or not the surface is reversed or not, because it doesn't really matter to me. Okay, so that's the process. Let's Control Z, and I'll talk my way through it real quick, all the way through. All right, once again, I created a circle. I drew a line up from the middle. I then drew over, then I used the tape measure to measure over to the right, drew over to the right and down and over to create that rectangle. I demonstrated that that could be done if you wanted just using a rectangle tool. And then I drew a random shape on that form, and I erased the extra stuff. And then I deleted that, and I used, let's do that one more time. I'm going to choose that line, I'm going to choose the Follow Me tool, and I'm going to click on this. Now, you can do something like this, where you follow it physically, but it really just, it does not work as well. As you can see, even if that actually worked pretty well, but usually it's not going to work. You're going to have all sorts of issues. You'll end up with stuff that looks like, you'll end up with things like this, where there's stuff and there's problems. And that's why I want you to choose the line tool. I want you to select the path, then click this, then click the shape to create your form. Now, if you are using this shape, something like this, you can click on the surface, click on the Follow Me, and click on the thing, and it will wrap around as well. But once again, that left it hollow. Okay, so that was the demonstration of how to use the Follow Me tool. Now I'm going to show you what it is I want you to do by doing it myself. I want you, and this is the beginning of the assignment, I want you to create a table, and the tabletop is going to be 48 by 60. 48 by 60, and we're going to make it 0.75 or 3/4 of an inch thick, and then you're going to make that a group. So we have a tabletop. On that tabletop, I want you to place a dinner set. When I say a dinner set, I mean a plate, a bowl, and what the British call a beaker, which would be a tumbler or a tall cylindrical vase. Okay, I'm going to start out with the plate. Now, a plate, if you go check your plate in your kitchen, it's probably somewhere around 10 inches wide. It's probably only about 3/4 of an inch tall. So I'm going to put this in this direction, and I'm going to do those dimensions. 10 comma 0.75, and there is my plate. Now, if you type that in and you came up with something like that, oops, that doesn't look right, then immediately swap the numbers. So that was 0.75 comma 10, and that's not the way I want it. So let's do it the other way, 10 comma 0.75, enter. And there we go. So this will represent the area that the plate would sit in. This is basically, if I were to push this back 10 inches, then this represents the box that your plate would fit inside. Okay? But I don't want that. I'm just working on the silhouette. Okay, step one, I'm going to divide that in half because we're only going to be working on half of the vase, or half of the plate, because we're going to wrap this around a form. Okay, so this represents half of the dimensions of a plate. Okay. Now I'm going to use a tape measure. Oops. Do a little work. Let's see, I'm going to put a foot on mine, about 1/8 of an inch up. So 1/8 over. And I'm going to draw this over to here. Now I'm going to be much more forgiving in terms of what technically gets called a plate. Number of segments is too large for the given angle and radius. If you come up with this warning or this failure notice, it means that there are too many, there are not enough, the computer does not like the length of these lines. They're too small. I can't show you what those measurements are. There's a couple solutions here. One, which is probably what most of you would like to do, is to just stick with straight lines and do a simpler form like that. Let's do a curve on that last one. Let's go with I don't know. Let's go with this, and then this, and then this, and let's go ahead and go with that, and that, and then let's go from here to over here. See, that's not going to work very well. I'm going to need to go from here to here, and then from here to there. And then I'm going to probably have that error, that same error again. It's probably going to tell me the same thing if I do this and I try to draw it. Oops, it worked that time. Well, except that I screwed up slightly. It's hard to see. Control Z. There we go. I'm going to require you guys to get a little creative at this point. Now, at this point, I'm actually going to leave that little line right there because that's going to help me. Because now I'm going to I'm going to click on that spot right there, and I'm going to go out large. I'm going to delete this surface. I'm going to get rid of that little line now because I no longer need it because it's centered. I'm going to click this and this and that. And there we go, we've got a dinner plate. I'm going to make that a group and I'm going to set it aside. That's my dinner plate. I'm going to delete that. Alright, so now I've got a dinner plate, and it bothers me that it is gray. I don't know why it does. It doesn't usually bother when things are gray, but I'm going to right click and reverse surface, and now it's white. Ooh, I might actually have you guys, that's for another time. Alright, so now I've got a dinner plate, and I kind of want to put that on the surface. So I'm going to bring that down to the surface by clicking on that bottom edge there. I'm going to click on that bottom edge. I'm going to click on this edge right here. And then from here, I can scooch it over. I think I dropped it down into the tabletop. On the surface. So there we go. So now I've got a plate there. Let's draw something else. So we're going to do a plate, a bowl, and a tumbler. So now let's do a bowl. This time around we're going to stay a little closer to home here because we've had trouble. So let's see, a bowl is probably going to be around somewhere around that big. That's too far. That's too big because it ended up way over there. I should give it dimensions. This thing is going to be about, we're going to say 3 inches tall, but you should give it your own dimensions. Maybe measure a bowl at home. 3 inches tall by 6 inches wide. Now if your thing ends up way off in the distance, that's going to get you a problem. Remember that this thing is grouped and that thing is grouped. So when I select that and I move that over here and put it right there, it'll be less of a problem of moving around on my screen. And at the same time, it doesn't stick to this because this is grouped. Remember, if this is not grouped, or that, and if this is not grouped and that's not grouped, and you touch them together, they will stick to each other. Okay, so this one is a bowl. So I'm going to put a similar foot on both of them. So I'm going to come up 1/8 of an inch. I'm also going to cut this in half. I'm going to come over here like this, come to here, and then because I'm doing these little square foots, that's funny. I'm going to go to about here, and I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this. Now I'm going to want you guys to do something a little more creative. Don't try to mimic exactly what I do, because I'd really rather you were more creative than that. Or you'd have a little fun with this one. Looking forward to seeing some interesting looking dinner sets. Control Z. Let's bring that back because I shouldn't have gotten rid of that. If you'll remember, there's a line in the bottom that I kind of wanted to keep. Makes it easier for me to swirl this around on something if I have that little spot left underneath it. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to click on this, click on this, and click on that. Select that little line and get rid of it. And get rid of this line. And there we go. Now we have a bowl. You can see that because I left it at 24, it's kind of clunky looking. It's not really very elegant looking. But at the same time, it also didn't have a problem. It did actually end up having a problem with, you saw that it was basically not willing to move that. I think this bowl is a little big. To have a bowl of soup next to your plate, it's probably a little on the big side, don't you think? Hope everybody's kind of agreeing with me. All right, now a beaker. As they would say in England, we would say a tumbler here in America. Let's go up this way. A beaker, we're going to say, is 6.5 inches tall by, there's a beaker. That's about 6.5 inches tall by probably 3.5 inches wide. And once again, we're going to cut that in half. I think a beaker would probably not actually have a, I don't think a beaker would have a foot underneath it. So I'm going to come up to 0.25, quarter of an inch up, and I'm going to come in a quarter of an inch over. Actually, I don't want to be too boring about this thing. We're going to, I was about to make it just really darn boring. And I want it to be somewhat interesting. That's a mistake. I don't want that. I want to go from here to there. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to copy and paste it. I'm going to grab that from the bottom and I'm going to put that right. Actually, I'm going to grab it from the top and put it right there. And I'm going to put a line right here. I put a line right here. Actually, I am going to make this slightly interesting because we should all make our stuff more interesting. I'm going to put a little bit of a bevel there, and I'm going to do the same thing right here. Seriously? Come on, folks. Alright, well, let's just, I talked to you about a way, there is a way of fixing that, but it's complicated, and I don't want to get into that right now. If you want to know how to fix that, ask me personally, and I will explain to you. I do need to put a round lip on this top thing, though. If you're having that issue and you want to know how to fix it, let me know and I'll. Actually, I am going to show, but you don't. But really, don't. You could just keep it simpler if you want to. Delete and select that and that, and there is my beaker or my cup. There seems to be some sort of issue here, but I am going to ignore that. I'm going to reverse those faces. And you should recognize that I'm going to be fairly lenient when it comes to these things, to some extent. There are certainly things that I'm going to cover at the end here that I expect that everybody will. Is this grouped yet? It's not grouped. I need to make this thing a group. Click, click, click. Right click. Make it a group. Wait a second. Something's wrong here. See, that's not. It looks like there's something wrong here. And there it is. Well, that's weird. I wonder what that's about. I had only grabbed that surface. That's interesting. Make it a group. Now the whole thing is a group. That's interesting. I had grabbed only that surface. I hadn't grabbed the whole thing. Alright, so I grabbed the bottom and I'm going to put this in place over here. And now I've got a dinner set where I've got a beaker, a plate, and a bowl. Now I would really love to see some creativity with these things and make them a little bit more like personalized. I'm going to move these over. I want them all on the surface. Because I need to select that one, put that over a little bit more. Hopefully they're all on the surface. Then what I want you to do is you're going to take all of them, you're going to copy and paste them, and you're going to rotate them. See how they're all selected right now? I'm going to take a rotate tool. I'm going to click anywhere I want. I'm going to click, and I'm going to rotate 90 degrees and let go. Ooh, I was going to show you something really cool, but I think I want to not make it too difficult. So I'm going to show you a trick though, in case it interests you and you want to. Because I'm going to show you how to do it in the easy way first. So clearly this needs to be moved in this direction. I'm going to copy and paste that and show you something. I'm going to grab a rotate tool. I'm going to click, and while I'm clicking, I'm going to hold down the control button. So I just pushed down the control button. I'm going to click and move, and it moved a copy. And I moved it 90 degrees. And I can now type times to enter, and it'll give me 3. It'll keep rotating them around. I can also, by the way, probably a good idea to make this a group. Grab all 3, make that a group. Grab all 3, make that a group. And now if I move them, I don't have to worry about them coming apart anymore. So let's see. This one I already have. I don't need that one. That one I already have, for that matter. So this is the one that I can put someplace right now. You're going to do a table setting for 4 is what you're going to do. Oops, that did not work. And I need one more, so copy and paste. I need to rotate it, and I'm going to rotate it this way 90 degrees. And I'm going to put it in place here. There we go. All right, so this is what's required of you. What's required of you is to make 4 sets of dishes. It needs to be a plate, a bowl, and a beaker, or a cup, or a tumbler. You are to put them on a tabletop. The tabletop should be whatever this was, which is 48 by 60. Put it on a tabletop. And you need to create the 4 sets, and they should look like they're pretty well placed correctly, pretty reasonably placed. And that's what will get you full credit. If you create what you see on the screen, you get full credit. If you want extra credit, here's how you do that. You start out, I'll do one that's regular credit, actually I'll just fix this one for full credit. I'm going to take this thing, I'm going to move it over, and I'm going to put them perfectly. I'm going to place them perfectly by locating the middle. If I take the tape measure, I click on here, and I hover over here, it'll find the midpoint for me. And I'm going to do the same thing this way. The midpoint. I am then going to come in here. Let's see, that plate was 10 inches across. So I'm going to come in here 7 inches on all sides. 7 inches. 7 inches. You can use these measurements, or you can come up with your own measurements. It's fine. I am now going to I'm going to, I don't want to delete that, escape that. I'm going to grab all these things, and I'm going to move them away from those lines. Problem is I need to locate the middle. I'll tell you what, if you want to, you can leave that little line in the middle as you're going. That'll help. Leave the little line in the middle of your plate, because I'm going to have to do this at this point. I'm going to have to locate the middle of this, which it will involve, which is not easy to do. How do I do this? You know, I'm going to just make sure, I'm going to make sure each of these things are grouped. This one's not grouped, or it is grouped. That groups, that's not grouped, so I'm going to group that, make that a group. Make that a group. And I'm going to go to View, Face Style, X-Ray, so I can see through the table. I can see through everything actually. I'm going to take the Move tool and I'm going to locate, as best I can, the center of that plate. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to grab this spot right here. That lip. I know what I'm going to do. Better answer for you all. This is problem solving and figuring out, right? Instead of coming in 7 inches, I'm going to come in 3 inches. I am going to delete that line, that line, that line, and that line. And now I'm going to go here. I'm going to grab the outermost edge, just like right there. I'm going to grab that point right there. And I'm going to center that right there. And I basically just put the plate right dead center with everything else equidistant wherever they are. And everything's a copy of everything, so everything else will be, the plate is centered and the edge of the plate is right there on that line that I created. And I'm going to do that on all the other ones as well. So I'm going to look at this thing from down below. I'm going to find the outermost spot, which I think is probably this one right here. Click there. And I'm going to click here. Now, I am not going to be checking your work with a tape measure. You're going to be submitting your entire thing to me. Actually, I'm going to have you submit a couple of photos, is what I'm going to have you do. And based on them, I will decide if I think that they're really, really well centered, then I'll give you the extra credit. If I think they're placed really accurately, then I will give you the extra credit. If I don't think that they're really placed accurately, then I'll just give you the full credit, presuming you've done everything you're supposed to be doing here. So let's see. I'm going to grab this spot right here. Put that right there. I'm going to edit. Delete guides. I'm going to go to View, Camera, no, Face Style, X-Ray, and get rid of that. And now I've got my thing. Now, for how I want you to submit this. You're going to be submitting 3 things to me. You're going to submit something that looks basically like this. Something that allows me to see the form. Actually, I'll take the picture. I want this picture right here. This picture says to me, I can see these forms. I can see that they're 3-dimensional. I can see that there's a plate, there's a beaker, there's a bowl, and they're all pretty well kind of put onto a tabletop. This image is image number 1 I want you to put into your folder. This is for assignment number 5. So assignment number 5 in your T folder should be this image right here. Okay? I'm not going to save. And this one is only necessary if you're trying to get the extra credit. So if you include this next image, it tells me that you're trying to get the extra credit. Standard views, top. And you're going to be looking at, I'm going to get this view right here. And as a matter of fact, I want you to do this. And I want you to do camera, parallel projection. I want that picture. So I went camera, standard views, top. And then I went camera, parallel projection. What that did is it got rid of the all the perspective. So I can look at this and I can decide whether or not I think everything is perfectly lined up. Okay? Those are the 2 images that I expect. You can see this looks a little wonky, it looks a little weird. It's because it's in parallel projection. If I put it back in perspective, it looks more natural. So those are the two images that I want you to submit. I will do that one again real quick. Camera, standard view is top. Camera, parallel projection. And then I want you to take a screenshot of that. And new, and like that. And there you go. So you have two images if you want the extra credit. You have this one that shows me that you lined everything up beautifully. You have the other one, which showed me camera, get rid of parallel projection, shows me a fairly close-up image of your work so that I can see that you did I lost my cursor somewhere. Anyways, I can see the cup, the bowl, the thing. I can see it's all sitting on a plate. That's what you guys need to do. You will also be doing the following. You will do File, Save As, Dinner Set. I recommend you put this into the folder, and then you're going to send me this file as well. You're going to send me the SketchUp file. You're going to send me at least one of those two images by next week. And that's what you're going to be doing. I'm going to make this worth more because I think it's a significant amount of work. And this is worth, we're going to say 30 points, which is quite a bit. It's due on Tuesday. Today is the 22nd, so a week from today is the 29th. So we're looking at the 28th by midnight. So January, February, March, April 28th by midnight is when this is due. If you have this done for me by Monday morning, when I wake up, then I will give you an additional 2 points extra credit. Now it'll be worth 5 points extra credit if it's done by Monday morning, and an additional 5 points extra credit if you have it perfectly centered. So both extra credits are 5 points. So it's worth 30 points if it's just done correctly. It's worth 35 points if it's turned in Monday morning. It's worth up to 40 points if you have also put in the extra work to make sure that everything is centered nicely on their table. Okay? And that is your assignment for this week. I hope you enjoy, and I hope you're creative with it and have a little fun. Okay? Hope you guys are all staying safe and staying healthy and staying home, staying away from other people, and keeping yourself healthy and as well as the rest of your family. All right. Bye-bye.